Caleb treated his bed like a sanctuary, a pristine space where no one else was permitted. Yet I was allowed to sleep there. He refused water from anyone else's hands, but he would snatch the bottle I was drinking from and finish it himself. I just assumed this was how close friends acted in the city. It wasn't until someone started a rumor that we were dating that I began to pull away. That was a mistake. He cornered me against a wall, his teeth grazing my lip as he bit down, just hard enough to draw blood. He spoke with a chilling venom, me to try avoiding him again and see what would happen. Caleb Hale, heir to the Hale fortune, was a towering figure, nearly 6'3", with a face that could have been carved from marble. He was also known for his severe aversion to germs and a notoriously short temper. That was the consensus, anyway. But with me, he was different. His bed was off-limits to everyone, yet I was an exception. He'd intercept my half-finished Gatorade after I'd been working my part-time job, his fastidiousness vanishing. His temper, a storm for others, was a calm sea for me. I truly believed this was just the nature of urban friendships, a level of intimacy I hadn't known back home. Then yesterday, Ryan cornered me by the library. He asked, a smirk playing on his lips, if Liam and Caleb were always attached at the hip because they were a couple. The idea was foreign. Men could be in a relationship like that? I asked him, my own naivete surprising me. He stared at me as if I were a fossil, genuinely baffled that someone in this day and age could be unaware of such a basic fact of life. I could only shake my head. I was from a small town deep in the heartland. We didn't have things like that. To be honest, there was a lot about life in a major metropolis I didn't know. The first time I arrived, I was floored by the sheer scale of the buildings, how they scraped the sky. I learned you didn't need to hitch a ride on your uncle's beat-up pickup truck to a market miles away just to buy groceries. I was so captivated by the glittering spectacle of it all that I stumbled right into Caleb and his entourage as they were heading off campus for the night. My foot landed squarely on his pristine white sneaker. One of his friends shoved me, his voice laced with aggression, demanding to know what I was doing and telling me to get down and clean his buddy's shoe. I scrambled to crouch down, but Caleb pulled me up. He said it was fine. His eyes took in the duffel bags slung over my shoulders. He asked if I wasn't exhausted carrying all that and offered to help, wanting to know where my dorm was. The kindness was disarming. I'd sullied his expensive footwear, yet he wasn't angry. He was offering assistance. I tried to refuse, insisting I could manage, but he waved it off, saying they had nothing better to do. His friends, taking his cue, relieved me of my luggage. I stood there empty-handed, utterly bewildered. Caleb just arched an eyebrow at me, a silent challenge. If I didn't tell them my dorm, we'd be standing at the university gate all evening. I had no choice. I told him I was in Building 4, room 512. A short while later, they stopped in front of Building 5 and started to head inside. In a panic, I grabbed his sleeve. Amid the knowing glances of his friends, I whispered that I was in Building 4. Caleb explained with a straight face that 4 was full. He'd already checked. The resident advisor had told him all late arrivals were being redirected to 5. And just like that, Caleb and I became roommates. In the beginning, I'd been anxious about getting along with new people. I never imagined Caleb would be so easygoing. We became fast friends, and I felt incredibly lucky. But Ryan's words haunted me. He'd told me that men could be in relationships. We were just good friends. I'd looked Ryan straight in the eye and explained this earnestly. He'd scoffed, asking if I'd ever seen Caleb treat anyone else the way he treated me. He questioned why Caleb's notorious germophobia conveniently disappeared only for me. He told me not to feed him some line about close friends, pointing out that Caleb had known his other friends for far longer. Ryan, a childhood friend of over a decade, wasn't even allowed to sit on Caleb's bed. He demanded to know what made me so special. I had no answer. Sensing my faltering confidence, he'd laughed coldly. He had given me a piece of sincere advice: to get away from Caleb Hale while I still could. The Hales were not a family I could ever hope to be a part of. That evening, I stepped out of the shower to find Caleb had already saved a spot for me on his bed. I hesitated by my own bunk below. He reached out, pulling me over to sit between his legs, and started drying my hair with my towel. Our other roommates didn't bat an eye. This was routine. But Ryan's words echoed in my head. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I told Caleb that from now on, I should probably sleep in my own bed. The room fell utterly silent. Even the guy across from us, who'd been cursing at his video game, stopped. The only sounds were the whir of the fan and the hum of the air conditioner. Caleb's hand stilled. He turned my face toward him, his brow furrowed in a severe expression. He asked why the sudden change, if someone had said something to me. I shook my head, not wanting to name Ryan. I just mumbled that it felt inappropriate and that I could dry my own hair. There were a lot of things I added that I could do for myself. My voice trailed off as I lowered my gaze. Caleb's brow tightened further, his stare so cold it felt like it could kill. I'd never seen him so intimidating. Everyone said Caleb's temper had mellowed since we became friends, but this version of him was new and frightening. After a long, tense moment, I shakily reached for my towel. He seized both my wrists in one hand. With his other hand, he roughly finished drying my hair before tossing the towel onto a desk. Then he pulled me down onto the bed with him, wrapping his arms around me so tightly I could barely breathe. I tried to shift, but he only constricted his hold. He warned me not to move. He was incredibly angry, he said in a low, frozen voice, and he didn't know what he might do. I went still. I barely slept that night, finally drifting off in the hazy hours of the morning. When I awoke, it was already noon. Caleb's face was dark, and there was a fresh cut on the corner of his mouth. He told me to come and eat. I quickly washed up, not daring to provoke him further. Later that afternoon, I discovered who he had fought. Ryan was at his desk, his face a mess of bruises, and he shot me a venomous look. He probably thought I'd tattled. If only that were true, maybe I wouldn't be tiptoeing around Caleb now, the palpable chill radiating from him a constant reminder of his displeasure. That night, after my shower, I was faced with a dilemma. If I ignored him and climbed into my own bunk, would he beat me up like he did Ryan? But if I got into his bed, what was the point of my earlier declaration? I stood by the bunks, drying my hair, as Caleb lazily spun his phone on his finger. His eyes, however, were fixed on me like a predator watching its prey. When Caleb wasn't smiling, the corners of his eyes turned down, which, combined with the hard lines of his face, made him look fierce. It was only 8 o'clock, but our roommates were already feigning sleep, though I could feel their furtive glances in our direction. The moment my hand touched the ladder to my bunk, Caleb's gaze turned sharp and menacing. I slowly retracted my hand and walked toward his bed instead. His expression softened. I had just settled in when he pressed up against me, holding me tight. His head nuzzled against my ear and neck, a sensation that was both ticklish and electric. I tried to turn my head away, but he bit my earlobe in sudden anger, hissing at me not to avoid him. I turned back. Satisfied, he began to lick the spot he had just bitten. A shiver, like a current of electricity, ran through my entire body, but I didn't dare move away again. When he finally seemed content, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. He whispered against my ear, his voice husky, that it was a good thing I hadn't gone up to the top bunk. His hand slid slowly down to my waist, kneading the muscle there. He didn't finish the sentence, but the implied threat was unmistakable. I trembled uncontrollably. He slowly withdrew his hand and pulled the covers over me. I was too afraid to ask what would have happened otherwise. I had a sinking feeling the consequence was something I couldn't handle. 3 days passed, and Caleb acted as if that night had never happened, reverting to his old self with a few adjustments. He was more physical, his hands always finding an excuse to touch me, only stopping when he felt me start to tremble with fear. I saw Ryan a few times during those days. The moment he saw me, he would lower his head and hurry past. I guess Caleb had warned him to stay away. During a break in a pickup basketball game, I opened a bottle of water and took a sip. I'd learned my lesson. Once, I'd brought 2 bottles, and when Caleb came over for a drink, he'd reached for the one I'd been using. I had gently taken it back and offered him the sealed one. His face had darkened, and he'd forced me to take a drink from the new bottle before he would touch it. Ever since, he did the same thing every time. So now, I always took the first drink. He walked straight toward me, and a group of girls on the sidelines started squealing, whispering to each other how amazing Caleb looked. He paid them no mind, lifting the hem of his jersey to wipe sweat from his face with one hand while extending the other toward me. I immediately passed him the water. As he took it, his fingers brushed against mine. Just then, I heard one of the girls say, loud enough for others to hear, that we looked so perfect together. All heads turned in our direction. Panicked, I snatched my hand back. Caleb's expression immediately hardened. He was angry again. In the next instant, he grabbed my retreating hand and locked his fingers with mine, holding our joined hands around the water bottle. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he drank, his composure unruffled. Our fingers were intertwined, inseparable. The screams from the sidelines grew louder. All I could see was the dark, stormy look in Caleb's eyes, a look that broadcasted his profound irritation. For the rest of the game, Caleb played with a ferocious intensity. I sat on the bench, a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. Tonight was going to be bad. And it was. After our showers, Caleb pinned me beneath him on his bed. His hands roamed over my body. I pleaded with him to stop. The more I resisted, the more aggressive his touch became. A stinging, prickling sensation spreading across my stomach and chest. His breath was hot against my ear as he murmured, his voice low and raspy, asking what he shouldn't be doing. The bed curtains were drawn, shielding us from view, but sounds could still travel. Our 2 roommates were in the dorm. I bit down hard on my lower lip. Just as suddenly, his movements slowed, his touch turning gentle, sending a different kind of shiver down my spine. As his hands continued their exploration, they started to drift lower. I immediately grabbed his wrist. I told him no, please no. I clutched his hand desperately, turning to face him with pleading eyes, hoping he would let me go. He asked if it was wrong for guys to touch there. I shook my head frantically, a cold sweat breaking out all over my body from sheer terror. He stroked my head, his tone soft but underscored with a danger that couldn't be ignored. If he couldn't touch, then he wanted a kiss. His gaze fell to my lips, the desire in his eyes a churning, undeniable force. I told him no, he couldn't kiss me, it was weird. I turned my face away, shaking. His breathing grew heavy, and his hand moved decisively toward my pants. Then he'd just continue. I held onto his hand for dear life, tears welling up in my eyes. my voice cracking as I begged him not to. He paused, his gaze softening as he looked at me. He asked why I was crying, saying he hadn't hurt me. He wiped away my tears and pressed my head against his chest. He asked if I would ever avoid him again. I shook my head vigorously. He lifted my hand and pressed a kiss to the back of it, then began licking my skin, from the spaces between my fingers to the tips, then down to my palm. My hand involuntarily curled, a strange new sensation flooding my body. He warned me in a deep, hoarse voice not to move if I wanted him to stop. I froze. He left my hand damp with his kisses, finishing with a gentle bite before he rolled off me and went to the bathroom. I looked at my hand, and it struck me that Caleb's actions were oddly like a dog marking its territory. Once his scent was on it, it was his. From Ryan's words and Caleb's behavior these past few weeks, I had finally pieced it together. Caleb liked me. His possessiveness was intense, obsessive, almost pathological. I didn't know how to handle it, but I knew I couldn't provoke him. My only strategy was to try and keep him calm. I had no idea what the future held. His actions were becoming more and more extreme. I sighed and tightened the drawstring on my sweatpants. Caleb didn't come back from the bathroom before I fell into an uneasy sleep. The next morning, I woke to find the dead-knotted drawstring of my pants had been untied. I glanced nervously at Caleb, but his expression was placid, unreadable. I relaxed a little, assuming I must have undone it myself in my sleep. That evening, my mom called. She asked if I remembered Julie, the girl from next door who used to joke about being my childhood bride. She'd been accepted to my university. Mom said that since she was a girl all alone in a new city, I should look after her, help her move in when the new students arrived in a few days. I agreed. After hanging up, I was conflicted. Should I tell Caleb? He hated me being close to anyone else. But if I didn't, he might find out and get angry for no reason, and I would be the one to suffer. Just before lights out, as I was still trying to figure out how to bring it up, Caleb suddenly announced he had to fly to London for a few days. He said it would be about 4 days, right during freshman move-in. I decided not to tell him. He wouldn't even be here. I just nodded. Caleb pulled me into a hug, his voice full of frustration. He hated that we'd be apart for 4 days and asked me to come with him. I told him I had my part-time job. He looked disappointed but said all right. When I met Julie, she was struggling with her luggage. I rushed over and helped her carry it to her dorm, then gave her a tour of the campus. She marveled at how huge the city was. It was true, I agreed. There were so many things here that we never saw back home. Perhaps because we were from the same small town, we had endless things to talk about and got along wonderfully. That night, after I walked her back to her dorm, Caleb called. He was screaming on the other end of the line. He demanded to know who that girl was. He'd been gone for less than a day, he yelled, and I was already chasing after women. I quickly tried to calm him, explaining she was just a friend from my village. He spat the word friend back at me, asking why I was smiling so happily with a friend. He told me I'd better stay far away from her until he got back, or he would destroy her. He dared me to test him to see what would happen if I truly made him angry. A sudden rage flared in me. I told him not to be like that. Both Julie and I had fought our way out of our rural town to get here. It was especially hard for Julie. Where we came from, girls her age were usually married with children unless they were exceptionally brilliant students. I knew how much she had overcome to get here, and Caleb could ruin all of our hard work with a single careless whim. He asked what he shouldn't be like. He said I knew he liked me, so I was taking advantage, acting spoiled because I felt secure. Did I think he would never truly get angry, no matter what I did? Suddenly, I felt deeply wronged. I shouted back that he didn't like me, he just wanted to control me. I was nothing more than his toy. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Caleb had been incredibly good to me. When I first arrived, there were so many things I didn't know how to use. Caleb never once laughed at me. He patiently taught me everything. He took me to see 3D movies, to eat at fancy restaurants, to explore malls and amusement parks. He taught me how to use a computer and a smartphone, took me on my first flight, and helped me correct my accent. When other students made fun of my English pronunciation, he was the one who stood up for me. When he found out I was malnourished, he hired a professional nutritionist to create a meal plan for me. When I was sick, he stayed by my side at the hospital, sleepless. I stammered into the phone, trying to take it back, to explain that I didn't mean it. The line was silent for a long time. Then came a cold laugh. Caleb's voice was arctic. He asked what there was to explain. He sounded like he was past the point of anger. He agreed with chilling finality that I was just his goddamn toy. He could have anyone he wanted. I could be with whoever I wanted. Then he hung up. I immediately called back, but was met with the cold, mechanical voice telling me the user was busy. My texts went unanswered. I think he was really done with me. After all, I had said something so deeply hurtful. My chest felt tight, like something was lodged in my throat, making it hard to breathe. After the 17th call went straight to voicemail, I knew that whatever Caleb and I had was broken beyond repair. When we were friends, Caleb had always been patient with me. As long as I didn't avoid him or neglect my health, he let me do as I pleased. We rarely fought. There was only one time when I'd been working too much and got caught in the rain. I ended up in the hospital with a high fever. The doctor wanted me to stay for another day of observation, but I was worried about my off-campus job and the cost of another night in the hospital. I was trying to get discharged when Caleb came in and handed me my phone. He said he had already called my boss at the diner and told them I was taking sick leave. That job was my lifeline during my first year, my only source for tuition and living expenses. The pay and hours were perfect for me, despite the exhaustion. My advisor had gently reminded me that I was the only one in my class who hadn't paid tuition yet. I couldn't afford to miss a single shift. I angrily asked Caleb why he would make that decision for me if he knew how much I needed that money. He couldn't understand. He said health was the most important thing. If I needed money, I should have just asked him. Besides, he hated that job, said it was exploitative and was running me into the ground. If I hadn't insisted on honoring my commitment, he would have made me quit long ago. That was our first real fight. In my anger, I had yelled at him that he had no right to make decisions for me and that he should stay out of my business. He had yelled back, did I think he enjoyed managing my life? I could go for all he cared. If I didn't care about my own body, why should he? He had been a fool for trying to help. He'd slammed the door on his way out. Later, a young nurse told me that my friend, who looked so intimidating, was actually very good to me. She said that when my fever spiked to 104, he was practically frantic, grilling every nurse about why it wasn't breaking. While I was unconscious, he never took his eyes off my drip, terrified the line would back up. He was the only person she'd ever seen in the hospital who wasn't glued to his phone. A wave of shame washed over me. My attitude had been terrible. Caleb was just worried. If it hadn't been for him, I might have died of a fever in my dorm room. He'd brought me in at 3 in the morning. He hadn't slept either. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how unfairly I treated him. I called him. He rejected the call twice before finally picking up on the third try, remaining silent on the other end. I apologized, telling him I didn't mean what I said and asking for his forgiveness. His voice, still tinged with anger, came through the line. Just moments ago, I didn't want him involved. I whispered that I was wrong. He asked if I was staying in the hospital for the night. I said yes. He'd let out a cold snort, then said gruffly that he was out buying fruit and demanded to know what I wanted. He warned me not to say I didn't want any, or he'd kill me. That was the only real fight we'd ever had, and even then, he had given me a chance to explain. Or perhaps he never intended to stay angry. But now, he wasn't answering my calls or texts. He was really ignoring me. Back in the dorm, I sat on my bunk and thought for a long time. If Caleb truly wanted nothing to do with me, it would be awkward for us to continue living in the same room. That night, I applied for a dorm transfer. My resident advisor, who knew me as a good student, approved it quickly. By the next afternoon, I was moving my things. My roommate saw me packing and his eyes widened in disbelief. He stammered, asking if I was moving out and if Caleb knew. I told him he didn't, but I figured this is what he would want. It was a kind of tacit agreement. I nodded. His shock grew, his mouth agape. He pressed again, asking if I was absolutely sure, because if Caleb didn't know with his temper, he was afraid I wouldn't be able to handle the fallout. His words hit me like a splash of cold water. He was right. If Caleb decided to hit me, one punch would be enough to lay me out. I had to get out of there fast. He was due back in 2 days. What if he found me still in the room, locked the door, and beat me to a pulp? I hurried my packing, assuring my roommate that Caleb knew. In the new dorm, there was only one other person. His arms were covered in a sleeve of colorful tattoos, and he was built like a linebacker with a menacing scowl. He didn't look approachable. I offered a quiet greeting and carefully started making my bed. He watched me for a moment from his seat, then stood up and walked over, planting his foot right on my mattress. He said he remembered me, Caleb's little sidekick, the two of them thick as thieves. He asked why I was here, if Caleb had finally gotten tired of me. His words rubbed me the wrong way. I told him it was between us and none of his business. I pushed his foot off my bed and tried to continue, but he grabbed my arm and shoved me down onto the mattress. He had a lecherous grin on his face, his eyes gleaming with a nauseating light. He'd heard rumors, he said, about what my relationship with Caleb really was. For Caleb to keep me around for 2 years, I must have something special. His greasy, disgusting gaze roamed over my body, making me want to vomit. I shouted that he was wrong, that we weren't like that, and told him to get off. He didn't move, his grin widening. He asked if I wanted to try things with him. He could give me money too, and he was way more experienced than Caleb. He promised he would make sure He never finished the sentence. I slapped him hard. The force of it snapped his head to the side. I remembered Caleb once telling me that if anyone ever bullied me, I should fight back. He was the one behind me, he'd said. They wouldn't dare do anything to me. But now he wasn't here. The guy's face twisted in rage, his eyes bloodshot. He swore he was going to kill me and raised his hand to strike. I squeezed my eyes shut, a cold sweat breaking out across my back. A pained scream echoed in the room. I realized the blow I was expecting never landed. The sound wasn't mine. I opened my eyes to see Caleb hammering his fists into the tattooed guy, who was powerless to defend himself, his eyes rolling back in his head. I snapped out of my shock, lunging forward and wrapping my arms around Caleb, trying to drag him away, yelling that he was going to kill him. At the sound of my voice, Caleb's tense muscles seemed to relax. He looked me over from head to toe, his voice dark and low as he asked if I was hurt. I shook my head. He let out a breath of relief. Ignoring the man on the floor, he took my hand and led me out of the building. He didn't stop until we reached the woods behind the campus observatory, a well-known makeout spot for couples. I nervously flexed my fingers, unsure of Caleb's mood. He wouldn't answer my calls, so why was he here now? But thank God he had come. I didn't know what would have happened otherwise. He was silent the entire walk, his face a grim mask. When we reached a stone wall at the edge of the woods, before I could ask what we were doing, he slammed me against it. His right hand cupped the back of my neck, forcing my head up. Then his mouth crashed down on mine. The kiss was fierce, bruising, as if he intended to steal all the air from my lungs. Just as I felt myself blacking out, he pulled back, letting me gasp for breath. I collapsed against him, my legs giving out, but he caught me, his arm locking around my waist, trapping me in his embrace. The moment I caught my breath, he was on me again, his lips sealing over mine, stealing my air once more. This continued several times, a clear and brutal form of punishment. The next time he moved to kiss me, I begged him to stop, that it was enough, that I was sorry. His face was emotionless as he wiped at my swollen, reddened lips with his thumb. The stinging sensation brought tears to my eyes. I looked up at him, my vision blurry, and whimpered his name, telling him I really knew I was wrong. He didn't stop his ministrations, his tone flat. He told me to explain where I had gone wrong. I confessed everything in a rush, that I shouldn't have said I was just his toy, that I shouldn't have moved dorms without telling him, and that I shouldn't have been so close with another girl without his knowledge. He stroked my hair, his voice dangerously low. He asked if he was allowed to manage me now. I nodded frantically. Afraid he didn't believe me, I added that only he was allowed to. The other guy had barely touched my arm, and I'd felt a wave of physical revulsion. It was then that I understood it wasn't all men. When Caleb touched me, I was scared, but it wasn't a fear born of disgust or repulsion. It was a dizzying, toe-curling sensation, like 1,000 ants crawling under my skin, a confusing, electrifying feeling. I was slow to realize it, but I think I liked Caleb too. He seemed satisfied with my answer. In the moonlight, the harsh lines of his face softened. I let out a small sigh of relief, which was premature. He spoke again, his voice casual. And what else? I blinked, trying to remember what else I could have done wrong. As his expression darkened, I looked down, feeling my confidence wither. I told him I didn't know. He let out a cold laugh. He asked how I could not know my own actions. What about the time I tied my sweatpants into a dead knot? Was he not allowed to touch me? So it really had been Caleb who untied them. I asked with a sliver of defiance why he didn't say anything at the time. He shot back, what right did he have? Was he in any position to manage my life? A playful smirk touched his lips. He asked who exactly he was to me. I was speechless. Seeing that I had no answer, the smile faded from his face. He released my waist and started to walk away. He supposed he was nobody to me, so he had no say. From now on, I could wear a winter coat in July or sandals in a blizzard. It was none of his business. He wouldn't care if I was hot or cold. I could wash my own socks, dry my own hair. Since I could do everything myself, I didn't need him. I could do whatever I wanted. He wouldn't care. As he began to walk away, I acted without thinking, wrapping my arms around his waist from behind. I told him I wanted him to care. He turned, pulling me into his arms, a smile lighting up his eyes as he looked down at me. He pointed out that he had no official title, no standing. Who was he to me? Even I, in my denseness, understood what he wanted to hear. My face grew hot, and I lowered my gaze, unable to meet his eyes. I mumbled the word, boyfriend. He said it was too quiet, as if I were being forced. And he, as I knew, hated forcing anyone. If it was too much to ask, we could just forget it. His tone was half joking, half serious. Panicked that he would take it back, I repeated, louder this time, "Boyfriend. You are my boyfriend." The smile on his face deepened. He leaned down and kissed the corner of my mouth. He heard me, he said, "Boyfriend." Caleb helped me move my things back to our original dorm. When we got there, the tattooed guy had already been taken to the student health center. I looked at Caleb with concern. He gave me a reassuring smile, telling me not to worry. I would never see him again. I shook my head and told him that wasn't what I meant. I was worried if he would get into trouble. A wide grin spread across his face. He asked if I was that worried about him. I nodded honestly, which made him laugh. He told me to relax. The guy wouldn't dare do anything. There were plenty of things that could be used against him. I thought Caleb was just trying to reassure me. But 2 days later, the guy's parents came to campus and processed his withdrawal from the university. When I returned to the dorm, my roommates saw my swollen lips and tactfully remained silent. I stared at my feet in embarrassment. Caleb chuckled. He asked what there was to be shy about. Everyone in the dorm knew he'd been treating me like his future husband. I was the only one with a head full of bricks who still thought of him as just a friend. He paused, looking thoughtful. Maybe, he mused, he should send Ryan a gift. Despite being a vicious gossip, if it weren't for him, I might still be oblivious. The mention of Ryan brought back his final, and my mood soured. Caleb noticed and asked what was wrong. If I didn't like Ryan, he offered he could go beat him up again tomorrow. His comment made me laugh. It wasn't that. I was just wondering if his parents would accept me. He visibly relaxed, as if he'd been expecting a much bigger problem. He told me that the very first time he saw me, he had gone home and announced to his parents that he'd fallen for a boy. They'd known about my existence all along. For them, for someone as particular and ill-tempered as him to find anyone at all was a miracle. They should be thanking their lucky stars that someone could tolerate him and want to be with him. He said it so lightly, but a weight settled in my own chest. My parents would be a different story. They were like me. They didn't even know that two men could be together. Even though I have an older brother, my parents still believed every son was meant to marry a woman and have children. I rushed to clarify, not wanting him to misunderstand. I told him I didn't regret agreeing to be with him. It wasn't a rash decision. I just wanted him to know that the road ahead might be difficult, and I asked if he was willing to walk it with me. He kissed my forehead. "Of course," he said. And getting my parents' approval was his responsibility, since he was the one who had lured their son down this path. He promised he would win them over. I squeezed his hand. We would do it together. Not long after, Caleb and I moved out of the dorms into an apartment he found close to campus. Life was much the same. By now, pretty much everyone at the university knew about us. I no longer flinched away from his touch, worried about what people might think. Now, we walked onto campus holding hands, just another one of those couples. Until one day I saw Ryan. Before my brain could catch up, my hand had instinctively slipped out of Caleb's. Caleb's face went black. He pinned me against a wall, bit my lip until it bled, and said with a menacing growl, "Liam, you dare pull away from me one more time." I wanted to cry. I was in for a long night of making it up to him. During summer break, I brought Caleb home with me. That very night, I told my parents. They were vehemently opposed to us being together. For days, they wouldn't even look at Caleb. Despite their hostility, Caleb came to our house every day. He cooked, did laundry, swept the floors, worked in the vegetable garden, bought new furniture for the house, and brought my parents all sorts of health supplements. He took them shopping, acting as their personal porter. He always brought snacks for the neighborhood's gossip circle at the general store and would sit and chat with them. When he played poker with my dad and his friends, he lost every single hand. Finally, over the course of one summer, he won the hearts of the entire town. My parents finally gave us their blessing. Caleb was as giddy as a child, picking me up and spinning me around. Later, we lay together in a field of grass, his fingers laced tightly with mine. We stared up at the same canopy of stars, and I heard his voice, soft but clear. He told me how much he loved me. I smiled and told him I loved him just as much. A grin spread across his face, his voice thick with happiness. "Then marry me," he said. In the next instant, the sky erupted in a cascade of fireworks. Amid the dazzling display, Caleb produced a bouquet of roses from somewhere and knelt on one knee, holding up a ring. Over the roar of the fireworks, he shouted his question, asking if I, Liam, would marry him. My eyes grew misty. I shouted back, my voice thick with emotion, yes. In that moment, the fervent love of two young men was sealed with a gentle, lingering kiss. We both knew with absolute certainty that no more words were needed. A single look, a single kiss born of overwhelming emotion, was enough to convey all the love in our hearts.